Hello friends, welcome to ADO.NET tutorial. In this video, we will link the data tables, publishers, employees, and job details. So in the last video, we filled the publisher, employees, and jobs data grid view using the data tables populated in the dataset. The data relation object constructor takes name of the relation, right? That's one parameter. Then parent and child column names. So this is second and third parameter. Then finally a Boolean value telling a primary foreign key constraint required or not. So if we pass true, we are telling that make a primary and foreign key relation between the linking tables. So here, if you look at the code, we are creating the data relation and we named that as pubs emp. That's the pubs to emp is the name. Here it is a reference, right? New data relation pubs to emp takes name, right? So we given a name. Then parent is ds pubs. This is our dataset name, and from tables we are picking the publisher table, and from there we are picking the column publisher ID. So in the publisher table, publisher ID will act as a parent here, right? This is the parent. After that, we are giving child. The same way, from our dataset, we are picking the employee table and taking the pub ID and telling that as a child. So here we are establishing the parent-child relation between publisher and employee. The true parameter here tells that use the primary foreign key constraints when creating the relation. That means since we are creating primary foreign key relation, the publisher ID should be unique, right? And here the publisher ID in the employee table will refer the publisher table. Here if you see, we are creating one more relation, data relation, and we are naming it as emp to job. So this is publisher to employee navigation, right? From publisher table we wish to navigate to employee table. So that's why we gave publisher as primary key and employee as a child key or a foreign key. Here we are creating one more relation. This time the relation is emp to job, employee to job, and we are picking employee table job ID column. So here this will act as a parent, and then we are picking jobs table and job ID column, and this will act as a child. This time we are telling we don't want any constraint, primary foreign key constraint. That means here in the parent, the job ID can be repeated, right? So there can be a repeated job ID. Since the job ID repeats here, we set false for the fourth parameter, stating that we don't want to enforce constraints in this table. Once relations are created, they can be added to dataset. Here if you see, we just created the data relation only, and in the data relation we referred our dataset object and we specified the column names telling which one is the parent and which one is child. In our example, we added two relations to dataset. If you see, here we created first relation pubs to employee navigation. The second one is employee to job navigation. Once the data relations are created, we can add those data relation to ds pubs. So this is our data set, and here is the relations collection. Using the add method, we added both of our relations. Now if you see, so we have a data set called DSPubs. In our previous example, we filled 3 data tables into it. Next, we have data relation collection, right? And in that data relation collection, we are storing 2 data relation. One is pubsemp, right? Pubsemp, and this is the data relation object. So, or we can state it is a relations collection. Then emp job. So both we added to our data relation collection. So pub emps knows what 2 column to link. One is publisher and another one is employee. So it links both of these table, and this one links employees and jobs. So what specific column that is specified here in the relation itself. So now if you see, the data set contains 3 data tables, 2 data relation, and this data relation knows how to link 2 tables. Pubsemp links publisher and employee. Emp job collection, emp job data relation links employees and jobs. Since that relation is a collection, you can add multiple relations within your dataset object. In the data grid view, we give the dataset as a data source instead of giving the data table. In all our previous videos, we gave data table, right? Either we referred that from the dataset or we directly gave the data table as a data source for our data grid view. But this time, since we have the relation in data grid view, we give the data set as a data source instead of giving the data table. And if you see dgv publisher dot data source, we gave DSPubs, right? We gave our data set as a data source. But a data set contains multiple tables, right? Which specific table to pick? That is defined by the data member property. So we give data source as a data set, and then using the data member property, we give the specific data table or even give the data relation, right? We can set the relationship using the data member. Here if you see in data member, this time we gave publishers. Publisher is nothing but our data table name. So data source we gave dataset, then we gave the initial table as a publisher. So if you want to give relation, you can give that also, and you can give the relation in terms of dot notation. So the name is dot notation based, and which educates data grid view about the traversal direction. So if you are intended to give the data relation object, say for example here we have data source DSPubs. First we gave the data source for the data grid view publisher. Next we are talking about the employee data grid view. In that we set data set. After that in the data member we are giving publisher. Publisher is our data table name dot pub to emp. Pub to emp is the relationship name, right? That means we are picking here. So we for the employee we tell publisher as well as the relation. That means here we are giving the child table, that means employee table, right? Data set. In the data set, publishers publisher is the data table dot, the relation is pubs to emp. Here we are not giving the instance name, instead we are giving the pub to emp, the relationship name we are giving, right? So here we specified the parent and the relationship name, so it knows where is the child. So the employee data grid view also ready. It knows it needs to populate the employee table in the corresponding data grid view through this, and there is a relation also between publisher and employee. And in the third, if you see, once again we specified the dataset name, data member, if you see, publisher dot pubs to emp, we came to employee's child dot emp to job, right? So we gave all three, and the final one here is emp to job. So target is job, so job will be populated here in the third, and there is a relation also. So this will help in picking the record. Say for example, if you select a record in the publisher table, all the child will be displayed in the employee's data grid view because of this data source and data member, right? Similarly, if you pick something here in the employee's table, the employee, its corresponding job record will be printed. That means the employee doing a specific job that will be displayed in the third grid. And if you see, we just by specifying the data source and data member, he automatically performed the click filter. When we go to example, that time you will see this. When user clicks this cell, corresponding rows are filtered in the related data grid view. That means when you pick a cell in the publisher, corresponding employees will be displayed, and when you pick a specific employee, corresponding job record will be displayed. The dataset is now holding three data tables: publisher, employees, jobs, and two data relations, right? Pubs emp and emp job. Also, our data grid view knows how to perform the traversal based on the data source as well as data member properties. Now let's go to the demo and implement this code change. So now we are in Visual Studio, and we will set the navigation using the data relation objects. And in the previous videos, we filled our publisher and employees and jobs, right? So we have this as a separate click event handler. Instead, you can fill all this stuff in the form load itself. Here in the navigation click, if you see, we are first creating the data relation. This was already explained in the PowerPoint slide. So we have two data relations ready. Then we add the data relations to the data set DSPubs, right? DSPubs, if you see, we have this as a class member. Then in each click events of fill publisher, fill employees, fill jobs, we filled our DSPubs, right? Here adapter.fill DSPubs, and we filled the data table within the data set, right? If you see, in each click event we have three adapter fill, and in that we filled our data set. Now here in this set navigation, we created two relations and we added that to the data set using the relations collection. Next, we are binding the grids. That means these are all the three grids, right? Publisher, employee, and the job grid. And for all the grid, we are giving data source as our data set. Then using the data member, we are telling what needs to be displayed and how the navigation will be. So first, in the DGV publisher, we are displaying the content of a publisher data table. Then here we specified publisher.pubs to emp. Pubs to emp is the data relation, right? Pubs to emp is the data relation, and child is employee. So employee will get populated here in the DGV employees, and at the same time it will maintain the relationship between publisher and employee. Finally, we are having the relation for job detail, right? DS pubs, and this is the detail. Publisher table. From publisher you can navigate to pubs to emp relation. From this relation you can navigate to emp to job. So this way you can pick a publisher, filter the employees, and from employees you can filter the jobs. Finally, we adjust the width for our data grid views. Alright, now let's rebuild the solution and run our sample application. So as already told, here we linked everything with an event. Instead, you can do all these filling job and setting the navigation in a single form load events itself. But for education purpose, here we are doing this separately. So first we fill publisher, employees, jobs, and at this moment if you see there is no navigation relation, but once you set the data relation object and set it to the data set, we will end up in setting up the automatic filtering. So let me create two data relation and add it to the data set object. So I clicked that, and if you see, when I click a specific publisher, the employees are filtered, right? Only one employee here for GG and G, 3 employees here, and when I click the employee you can see their job detail also, right? Kramer Philip is the Chief Executive Officer, and here there is only one employee and he's a publisher. The employee is publisher, designer, and here we have multiple employees: operation manager, designer, public relation manager, right, editor. So that's all. Here we set up the automatic navigation using the data relation. That's all here in this video. Thank you for watching. Bye.